dirty your hands and do stuff like that. It's more about kind of finding people, using them to further advance what you want to do. So a typical example of this was we have a very, I wouldn't say it's like top tier, but it's not bad. So we have a technical university here, which is on par, like it would be like the equivalent of MIT in America, right? So there was this guy named Daniel, right? And he was like, shit, Pirate Bay is getting fucked in the ass, but I'm part of this kind of, kind of piracy culture, right? And I think like the old system of attaining media is getting, it's not effective enough, right? So what if I could monetize it? So he just hung around the university and started recruiting people and be like, hey guys, I'm gonna do a startup. So you come work for me, and I'll pay you, and then we'll see where it goes. And he fucking founded Spotify. So I mean, that's
same guy or a different guy.
No, they're like same guy that recruited all these guys from essentially college, right? So, but they still need to get the fuck out of Sweden because taxes are too high. So that's why once they become big enough, they just jump over to America or wherever else where they can hide their money.
Hey, how many fucking people live there? I have a friend in Denmark. I'm always trying to move to Florida because he's successful, but like he won't listen. Like they just stay there and get deep.
But Rico, you also have to understand what kind of people do you have in fucking Miami? A bunch of Cubans and a bunch of Caribbeans.
Miami's not the bunch of Jews in Florida. Miami's not the only place in Florida.
No, you have Key West, you have you have all these things. And
Rico, your area's real estate is getting
So I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out how, it seems like every group there's that period of kind of getting to know each other, and then maybe it's just a period of getting to know each other, and then there's going to be differences that come up, and then how do we kind of skillfully navigate those differences when they do come up, and is there a way that we can have kind of at least a common sort of structure that doesn't feel like a prison of rules, but it could still kind of guide us, I think maybe that would be, and maybe that's something we could do as a room to figure out at some point, but I find that those larger conversations sometimes just kind of go on and on and on, and not a whole lot really gets done. So maybe I could even just write something up, like very, very brief, like a 5 bullet point idea, and if you all have some feedback, maybe I could do that. I mean, does any of that sound like overkill? I'm just trying to figure out, there's some part of me that is asking myself, does what I'm trying to do fit here? And I feel like it does. I feel like it was inspired by being here. I thought, ooh, maybe we could open up this echo chamber a little bit into something, just a little something else. But I don't know. Maybe that's not an appreciated value here, and maybe that would tell me explicitly, okay, this isn't going to work. Or maybe people say, yeah, we kind of want that, and let's see if we can work towards that. Any thought?
My first thought that jumps right to the top of my mind is we should probably stop talking about this openly in the room. Okay. Let's jump on an actual call, because there's no right or wrong way, right? There's no right or wrong way to do this, and however you do it, it needs to serve your needs and your desires and your time. Right now, like I said, it's a very busy, crazy, demanding season of your life. There's a lot of change. There's a lot of upheaval, and I just want you to honor yourself. You're really talking a lot about how you need to honor everyone else, and I appreciate that. But I also think it's okay for you to do your room the way you want to do your room. And I just want to go on record of saying that very clearly. And so let's talk about it offline. Let's do what you brought everybody together to do. Okay. Let's just have a great conversation, pick a topic, and let's just what's gonna feed you? Let's talk about something great, positive that is aligned with why you started this.
That's fair, and I appreciate that. And right now, I'm looking at little Osiris, who knows that if I try to walk him down towards Shattuck, he's going to get a twice as long walk. But he's dragging me back up the hill, so that's a good thing. That's part of why I'm here. Is to. But yeah. So good morning, everyone. This is Let's Walk Together. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed today, and I'm feeling a little bit better. Thanks for letting me vent. Yeah, how's everyone doing? Oh no, Willow. Listen, yesterday, oh, by the way, yesterday when I left this room, Chinga started a room. It looked like it was started by me. It was like Dr. James's ultra radical, great, amazing fun house or something like that. It was just a very, it was really funny. But all of a sudden, I realized I was in there because why wouldn't I have gone there to see what the hubbub was about? And I realized that there was someone in the room that was taking the whole thing very, very seriously. Yeah, and so that was a little... And he nodded me too, I know. So it really made it look like I was being very, very, I don't know what the word is, petty. And so, no, that wasn't opened by me. I really, even in my real life, don't have a lot of room for drama. And I just wanted to let you all know that as far as that all goes, I'm not really into this sort of, the clubhouse thing that people do where they lean into the problem in a way that's just meant to be kind of provocative. I kind of feel like debate is not why I'm here, so I hate saying the word I too. Okay, so here's something that for today, this is a little bit of a weird transition, but something that I've been wanting to talk about to some degree is, here we go, hold on. Maybe just kind of, first of all, Denise, you had asked the question at the end yesterday, and I really love the questions you asked. Do you recall what you asked, or was that something that was for the moment?
No, I recall, but it's kind of heavy. So let's try to think something a little bit lighter.
Okay.
Right? So maybe...
Well, how's everyone do? Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe like, I guess I'd like to know from you, I'll ask you a question. What's the best advice you've ever gotten? You've been doing professional training, and you've been through a lot of formal education, but then you also have your actual life, right, and your lived experience. What's the best advice anybody has ever given?
Well, obviously these questions are amazing. I can't do best, but I could say some things that I think have stuck with me along the way. I think one of the things that you said this morning is I could identify as a bit of a pattern for me, and so I'll try to say this in a positive way, which is, it's okay to sit in your authority. As weird as that sounds for me coming out of my mouth, that's something that I really, for whatever reason, I've had a hard time with in life, sitting in my authority, somehow. But there was a time, and so this is maybe getting to your question, there was a time in my life when I was doing my electronic music events down in Southern California and Los Angeles from the early 90s into the early aughts. There was, always a big question, but basically, in a nutshell, I grew up in a way that I think I came out of my adolescence feeling pretty battle damaged and very unsure of myself. And when I found these events, and I found kind of a mission, because this group of people was very much into ideas of improving the world, creating kind of something different from this kind of US capitalism we grew up in, something a little bit more like the hippies, but with kind of a techno house music kind of bounce to it. We really believed in what we were doing, and as I started doing these events, and I had not been, I had a high school education, barely graduated high school at that point, and started putting on these events, and I started getting some really good feedback and really got into the art form of it. One of the things I discovered was, maybe I do have something to offer. And in discovering that and beginning to build relationships in this community, people who also had a mission that had some kind of alignment, learning to work together, as a team in kind of a much more egalitarian sort of way, not really, it was top down in the sense that, usually the event was mine and I would, jot ideas down all the time and they would kind of help put it together. But when it came to kind of the mechanics of doing it, we really worked as a unit. And so I guess there was some evolved wisdom that burbled up from that, which is, work is always better when it's on a team. I mean, for me, I've enjoyed having a vision, but I've also enjoyed becoming sort of part of a group of aligned people who are working together towards something. And in that, I think, one learned how to have disagreements and to do it in a way that's respectful and, with love. And, a lot of my long-term friendships evolved from early business ventures that I had when I was in my early 20s and all that. So to answer your question, I would say one piece of advice I got back then was, you don't always need to be in control. And that's also a struggle too, because I think for people who have kind of an entrepreneurial mindset, sometimes it feels like we need to do everything on our own, and we don't. And, that leads me to another piece of advice I've gotten that I struggle with, which is, it's okay to ask for help. I think we're starting to see a theme here. So, I think being radically independent can have a function, and it's meaningful, but at the same time, I think it can also, be okay to have a soft underbelly and there can be strength in showing it. And so I'll end there.
I love it. That was a complicated answer. I didn't think so much depth in that. It's amazing.
Anyone else?
That document that you sent me that was like a permit to one of your events.
Oh yeah, permit to freak. Someone told you how to write it. Someone said you have a right to dance. Well, in Los Angeles, you need a permit to freak. I turned a business license into a party flyer called.
Well, I sent that to a guy that I used to work with who used to go to raves all the time. And he saw that and said, "Oh my God," he goes, "I remember those events." And it's a very funny thing because he was kind of a wild child, right? This guy, and he was very much a rebel. And we were working in an advertising company in LA at the time, and he used to go to these raves all the time, and he would come in pretty tired sometimes in the morning. Because he'd get up all night at these raves, and he remembers her raves. And he just sent me a picture of him with, now he is married, has a couple of kids, and is doing great, and made a whole career for himself and has his own business. So you've been inspiring people. He got a whole lot out of those raves. I mean, they really meant a lot to him, and he would talk about them all the time. So you've been influencing people's lives and bringing them pleasure for a long time.
Well, thank you.
So you're just continuing on your journey.
Yeah.
I can't stand that guy.
I'm tempted to post either that flyer or a photo from back in the day, but I am concerned that it can and will be used against me in a court of public opinion, so I'm going to hold off on that for the moment. Rolo, please come up. I see you.
Rick, what was your advice? Best advice you ever got?
There was a time when I was working with somebody who was just not a very good person, right? Not fun to work with, not very good at what they did, and it was really frustrating to me. And one of my mentors said, use this as a time to learn how not to do things. They said, be observant and just use it as a time to learn how not to do things. And that will be a very valuable experience. You can make it a valuable experience. And that, just flipping the frame on it, is learn from the mistakes being made. It was a very valuable lesson.
That's good. That is good. I like it.
2 new people up here. Actually, we have a whole bunch of new people. Dr. Francine,
Can I
Kyle,
sit there?
Chinga. Yeah, yes, you may, Dr. Francine. We've got Roro. How's it going, Rolobot? And we've got Al and Dr.
Okay. Same person gave me these 2 pieces of advice that are the best advice I've ever had. The first one was just say yes and then figure it out. And then the second one was deals are like streetcars. If you miss one, another one will come by. And that's the best advice I've ever had.
May I ask you in what ways those pieces of advice have impacted you or they were meaningful to you?
I have said yes to just everything. One of the things that I ended up doing from saying yes was going to India for the first time with a relative stranger that I was talking to in a deli. Kelly Geteson, who said to me, well, I'm going to visit my homeland. I'm going on a roots trip, and I think I'm going to go see the Dalai Lama while I'm there because I have some connections. And I said, wow, that just sounds fascinating. And he said, well, why don't you come with me? I'm going by myself. And I said, yes. And my daughter was at the table with me, and she was like, yeah, Mom, you should go. So I went, and that was the first time I went to India. I went 4 times, but that was the first time I went, and I did not actually see the Dalai Lama, but we went to Dharamshala, and I saw the Dalai Lama's headquarters and all the people that were around the Dalai Lama, and I learned more than I would ever imagine. And I slept overnight on a train from Delhi to Dharamshala. And the other one, deals are like streetcars. I used to when I didn't get a client, I would cry. And that's what he said. He said deals are like streetcars. And, voila, other deals came by. They did. He was right.
I'm envisioning the people mover from Disneyland where all the cars are connected in an eternal circle continually moving. Is that sort of what you mean?
By the train from Delhi to Dharamshala?
No, the second thing, the second part. You said
deals are like streetcars. Yes, it's exactly like the people mover. Like any airport, if the door closes on the people mover, you know that another one is going to come by.
Thanks, Dr. Francine.
Yeah, I mean, you have to understand how important every single piece of business was to me when I was running my business and I was a young mother.
I bet. I mean, you needed that cash coming
Yes.
in. You had mountains.
Exactly. But he made me feel calmer.
That is kind of the interesting flip side of hunger, isn't it? It really brings things into.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean it kind of metaphorically and literally. Feeling like everything is on the line sometimes really sort of establishes a hierarchy of needs internally in terms of what is important for me.
Right.
Because if rent is due and the bank account is empty, then, my ego that has an opinion about me going out and doing some Uber Eats delivery driving can shut the fuck up and move out of the way so I can make rent. You know what I mean? It's kind of like sometimes things that in your head you thought, oh no, I wouldn't
do that.
Right. Yeah, it just can kind of bring things into focus. And I think that's a good thing. I mean, I think that's probably one of the bright sides of struggle is that struggle can really help bring things into focus.
That's not that different from just say yes.
Right.
Which is allow yourself to open to new experience.
When I first moved to LA, and we'll make room for all the new people on stage, see Sound and Al and Rolobot, etc. I moved in with 5 other people into this house behind this coffee shop called the Bourgeois Pig in Franklin Hills in LA. It almost felt like the real world before the real world, a bunch of ravers living together in a house. And we had this improv comedy troupe that had a business next to the Bourgeois Pig where they did improv comedy. And so we would go over there for a while as participants, but then we ended up, over time we would participate. And they had that's kind of their thing they lived by, which was yes and ... And I feel like that's kind of in line with what you're saying. It's just always yes.
Yeah, that's what improv is. Yes and.
Was that $5 bills by any chance?
No, it was one of the ones, I forget what they called. There's like groundlings and there's another one. There's maybe 2 or 3 different ones. I think there's one off of Melrose, that might be groundlings, and then this one was off of Franklin Boulevard, across the street from this Scientology Celebrity Center. And we lived in a house right behind that. We shared a wall with the backside of these.
Yeah, my wife and I, our first date was right next door to the Bourgeois Pig. There's a little coffee place.
The Bourgeois Pig was the coffee place. That probably could have been it. That could have literally been your first.
That was it, yeah.
They used to do open mic poetry readings there, back in the 90s before Starbucks and coffee shops were
Good times.
So, anyone?
You don't have it. I agree with you.
I don't know if you want to re-ask your question, Denise, or
Yeah, what's the best advice you ever got? Who wants to take? Oh, Al, you want to take a stab at it? Best advice you ever.
Of course. First of all, I just have to mention that I love that you went from Delhi to Delhi, Francine. That's really wonderful.
I know.
I have 2 that came up really quickly, and they're kind of connected. One was that my first editor, Beverly Lewis, the late, great Beverly Lewis,
didn't make it all the way.
And my first real mentor in life, told me in working with my writing, she said, take your gloves off. And what she meant by that was stop being equivocal, stop second-guessing yourself, stop being smaller than you are. And explained to me that this was something that obviously girls and women are taught to do in our culture. And I learned to do that. I learned to speak in a declarative sentence. I learned to stop letting my voice sort of go down into the sentence, things that I have learned without even realizing I have been conditioned to do my whole life. So that was one thing that I always really held on to, was take your gloves off. And the other is I'm really tempted to do a huge disclaimer here, but I'll not do that. I was at a writing retreat, and I was with a friend and a writer I was working with, and we were talking late into the night, and I was telling her about my childhood. And she was very wise, and she was listening really hard, and I was telling her about my mother, and she looked at me and she said, "She is never going to love you." And I just burst into tears, and it was the greatest relief I had ever felt in my life. Now, I don't know what love is, and I think my mother did love me, but what she was speaking to was this huge, incessant desire on my part to please her, for it to be enough, for it to be good enough for her. And it was as if something had just moved away in my chest, and it changed everything in my life forever. So those are the two things.
I wish someone had told me that. My mother.
Thank you for your vulnerability, Al. I mean, I expect nothing less, but it's obviously not required. And I just, yeah, I mean, obviously, I feel that. And I feel you in that. That gaping hole in the void of the heart.
This is Alex, and he built.
So, anyone else? It looks like a Rollerbot has got something to say.
I'm not used to being referred to as Rollerbot, but nice to be here, James. I was actually on my way to bed and I was keen just to be able to listen. I thought the topic was actually really interesting, and I love the shares so far. They've been really cool.
Oh, it's you. I can tell now by the voice.
Honey!
Yes, exactly. And people keep changing names on this app, and I have to wait until they talk for a while, and then I'm like, oh, it's Rohan. Got it. Okay.
That's great to hear your voice. Thanks. There was something that came to mind. There was something that came to mind to me, and it's something it's really stuck with me, and it's something I've lived by. That has changed my relationship to not just myself, and not just my family and my friends, but basically the rest of the world. And
everything is a drama with these people.
And the saying was, "I'm perfectly imperfect," and that's perfect.
That's not perfect. It's perfectly
And with
imperfect.
that, I really was at the point of just accepting myself for who I am as being just an imperfect being, and also, so as I did that, I changed my relationship with myself. That my imperfections it was the things that I'm good at, and my relationship also with my father, who at the time, like as a young 20-year-old, was reckoning with my father as a parent, not as just another human being. And with that saying, I gave him the license as well to be able to understand that, he's not just a father, he's just another human being. And for that matter, everybody is perfectly imperfect. I think there's basically a facade that not all people, but I think a lot of people put on in terms of having to have this impenetrable guard and mask. And I think, look, when other people make mistakes, it's like I can brush that off very easily, and have been able to brush that off ever since. say, look, you know what, they're just doing their best to be able to get through this world. So that's the saying, perfectly imperfect, and that's perfect.
Thank you for that. Good morning, Ben. Good morning, Sam. Good morning, Sister Tolja. Who else? Chinga, we haven't heard from. Kyle, we haven't heard from at this part of the talk. Anyone have a comment about Denise's question?
I got two. They're not necessarily advices. They're violent criticisms that I took to be advices, and they both kind of relate to the same topic. So the first one is when I was a grad student, I was having a big and loud argument with my graduate advisor, as I was wont to do. And in the middle of we were trying to we were debating over the meaning of some piece of data that I had, and we disagreed on what it meant. And I said, I think, and he turned around and said, I don't give a fuck what you think. What can you show? And so that was a huge slap in the face at that point. But what I kind of learned from that really my opinion doesn't really matter. What matters is what can I show so that another person can see the point the way I see it without having to rely on my opinion. And the same thing happened when I was a few years ago talking to my daughter. We were talking about some actress who had gone through a whole lot of plastic surgery and things like that, and I hate plastic surgery, so I was saying that I lost a lot of respect for her because she was doing that, and she said, well, she kind of convinced me that in her situation, things are the calculations are different, and so I said, okay, I accept that. I think that is correct. And then my daughter said, you know what, Dad? Nobody gives a fuck what you think. And so I took both of those comments really to heart. That unless somebody asks for my opinion is not worth the air that is carrying it. It's just for me. I can only be effective if I can put my arguments into real facts and not opinions, and that way try to convince others.
So good. Sam.
Wow.
I find that really powerful because I think one of the challenges of this season of our lives is social media, the kind of the ecosystem that we live in now is we are really obsessed with our own ideas, and convincing other people to change their mind has become almost a sport, right? And when you can get to a space that you can just let people make the choices that they want to make, as long as it's not harming you or harming anyone else, but just allow people, and that kind of ties into one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was just like nobody is thinking about you nearly as much as you're thinking about you. Just live your life, do your thing, and operate at the highest level that you can operate under. But you are mistaken if you think people are sitting around all day figuring out what you're going to do next. People they just don't care about you as much as you think they do. And I think that was very freeing for me. Good stuff.
There's a term in psychology or social, maybe developmental psychology, that talks about that stage of development where when we're teenagers. I think it's called like a personal myth, or I forget the exact term. I gotta look this up when I get back to my house. Where essentially what it is there's just a phase of life where it can kind of feel that way, and then eventually you get someone who comes into your life like Sam did and says, no one gives a fuck unless they're asking, and maybe even then they might not, and then maybe you kind of percolate on that a bit and it starts to have meaning, but sometimes it can be really hard to shake that. In any case,
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm loving the topic of this room.
You can thank Denise for that. Thank you,
Denise. I have been given so much good advice that, it's hard to whittle it down, but I managed to do that down to 2, and they both came from my mother. The first is, don't treat others the way you want to be treated. Treat others the way they want to be treated. That was something that I was taught as a child, and I realized that it influenced my worldview to its very core, because what that does is trains you to develop empathy for others. There's something, even though the golden rule has its merits, I guess, there's still something a little bit narcissistic about it. It assumes that everyone is like us. It assumes that everybody has the same needs as we do. And so there is an element of listening and asking without assuming that brings, and that has affected every single relationship I've ever been in. So that's the first one. The second is, it came to pass. I realize now how important that term is. It's in the Bible, and it's kind of like an aside that nobody really pays attention to. But my mother always used to say it came to pass. And what that means is, when something terrible is happening, we shouldn't get stuck there. That happened, and then the next day I woke up, I ate breakfast, I showered, and it really does something in terms of dealing with trauma that no therapist has, and I've gone through a lot of therapy, has managed to have a bigger impact on. Terrible things happen, and we spend a great amount of our good times reviewing the terrible things, and that is such an incredible waste. Not to say that we shouldn't think about it, shouldn't deal with our trauma, but we have to try to find a way for it not to define us and to still have hope. So as long as you're alive, it came to pass. And whenever something really, really, really bad is happening in the moment, I just tell myself, it will pass. That's it, thanks.
Good morning, Sister. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. I just to say something. First of all, it's great to you. I just wanted to say that what you said, the first thing you said, reminded me of something that I learned a long time ago. I had a friend who I wanted to give her a birthday gift, and she did this thing that I experienced as really shaming and dismissive, which was that she sort of barked at me and said, I don't need anything. People shouldn't give. People give, they should make contributions to something that the person cares about. And I thought, well, I really like giving gifts, and I really like getting gifts. And I realized that, when I give a gift, and I think it's probably more universal than just me, I tend to give what I would want to get, not what I think they would want to receive. And I've kind of integrated that into what I do in terms of giving. More than just giving, but giving in general. So I think those are very wise. It's a very wise concept.
You sound like a Schwartz.
Love it. We got some wisdom on the stage. You love to see it. Chinga, did you want to share one?
We are offering Chinga the magic carpet ride of a lifetime. Would you please love to impart your wisdom with us? We always have something great to.
White people are bad.
Okay, well, you know what? I respect your the illusion of free will in you at this moment, and so I will just invite anyone else to speak about this topic or anything else. We have 15 minutes left, and we're going to end on time today.
Well, I have another one that I'd like to add to the pile, which was a very important piece of advice, which was a man that who I loved very deeply and dearly, who was a struggling alcoholic. And I remember at one point when he was talking to me about the various ways that he was trying to deal with his alcoholism, I said something about I'm trying to, and he said there is no trying, there's only doing.
Ooh, fucking Yoda over here.
Gut punch, aha moment combination where I went, oh my God, that's true.
What do you think doing is? It's called trying.
It's about choosing and acting, doing. That was another light
piece of
advice.
Say you sound like a Schwartz.
Good. I'm gonna give you one. It's a little bit lengthy, but I'm gonna try to make it as short as I can. But it was probably the best advice I've ever gotten in my entire life. I used to work in video and music production.
Strict. Trump posting after that call. I keep hearing about Texas going blue, but it is just another Democrat lie. With the right candidate, Texas isn't going blue anytime soon. And Texas Republicans do seem to be moving forward, returning next week for a special session to begin the process of redrawing the maps. And yes, it is a highly unusual move because congressional maps, well, they are normally redrawn every 10 years based on the census. And the maps were just approved, in 2021. The president signaling other states could actually redraw their congressional districts as well. Well, California's governor, Gavin Newsom, responded tonight saying that he is ready to play ball if they do.
Gerrymandering, and let's be fair, we've seen this weaponized by both parties for decades. But these guys, this is a whole nother level of weaponization coming from the right. The ground is shifting from underneath us, and I think we have to wake up to that reality, and we can do a special session. I can call for one today if I chose to. We can then put something on the ballot, and I can call a special election. We can change the Constitution with the consent of the voters, and I think we will win that. I think people understand what's at stake in California.
Joining me now, Texas Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is also a member of the House Judiciary and Oversight Committees. You know, Congressman, when I heard about this, you were the first person I wanted to hear his opinion on this, because coming from Texas, are you concerned about that Republican effort to redraw those congressional lines? And if you are, which I'm assuming you are, what can you do about it?
Yeah, so first of all, we've got to educate people. So thank you for having the conversation. This is bigger than just Texas.
What has ever happened?
A lot of people kind of look at this and be like, this is a Texas problem. No, it's all of us problem. It's the entire country as well as the world that needs to be concerned. Because first of all, when we think about the fact that this administration has talked a lot about a third term, whoever controls the House is going to be the person who has to certify the election. So, these guys don't play by any rules. They break everything. And right now, they are trying to not only rig the midterms, but potentially rig the next election by making sure that we have more of these complicit folk continuing to run the House because honestly they just do whatever he tells them to do. They don't do what the Constitution calls for, and they don't do what their oath calls for.
I'm old enough to remember and young enough to remember when gerrymandering was a horrible word. The idea of redrawing maps, both sides hated that particular issue, Democrats, Republicans, although I do hear Governor Gavin Newsom saying that he is suggesting perhaps something similar. Should he?
Absolutely.
So it'll truly be tit for tat. Will that be respected?
You've got to meet the moment. You've got to meet the moment. And the reality is that we need to be in a fair position. Honestly, Donald Trump would not be causing the havoc that he's causing if it wasn't for North Carolina deciding that they were going to cheat as well. They ended up controlling the Supreme Court in North Carolina, and so they decided to redraw the lines. When they redrew the lines, they added 3 seats for Republicans. It is not reflective of the people in North Carolina. Right now, you have 10 Republicans and 4 Democrats when it comes to the congressional makeup. But when you look at how the state voted, they barely voted a little bit over 50% for Donald Trump. But every other statewide election, governor on down, they voted for the Democrats. So it's a 50-50 state. And the congressional delegation used to be 7 and 7, reflective of the people. And so what we have now, though, is the state of Texas, ever since the Shelby v. Holder case, they have decided, you know what, thank you, hallelujah, because they have always been found to be intentionally discriminatory. When we ended up adding 2 new seats in the state of Texas, somehow that was because there were 95% people of color that were added to the state, but when it came down to it, somehow they worked around every single person of color that they could find to create 2 new Anglo seats. Right now, what they are going to do is they are going to further dilute the voices of black and brown people so that they can accomplish this sinister goal of making sure that they can squeeze out and cheat and get these seats.
To remind people, of course, North Carolina is one of those states where a judge said it was surgical precision they were using to try to gerrymander in this way. And of course, Shelby v. Holder rolling back the Voting Rights Act under Section 5, which continues to impact everyone even today. A big story right now that's happening, even aside from gerrymandering and redistricting, has been about what's going on with Jeffrey Epstein and the campaign promises that then candidate Trump was making about transparency. You were on the House Judiciary Committee. Democrats on that committee are calling for Trump administration officials to testify about how they've been handling this entire investigation. What would you ask them?
I mean, there's a long list, but I can tell you that I serve as the ranking member of oversight as the subcommittee on judiciary. We just had a hearing today, and they decided to go after our nonprofit organizations. But what we did is we focused on what the American people want to hear about and what we should be doing, which is actual judicial oversight. And so we should be calling in Pam Bondi. We should put her under oath to testify in front of judiciary on the House side.
About Epstein?
About Epstein, absolutely.
What do you want to know?
Well, first of all, she said, oh, you know, I've got the files on my desk. Then the next thing you know, she said, well, wait a minute, there are no files. Which one is it? When were you lying? And why are you lying? What is the cover-up? We know that your boss indicated that he was going to release the files. What is the holdup on releasing the files? And how are you going to go about determining what is relevant, right? What is, I forgot the exact term that he used, but that's basically what he said, right? Like, what is going to be your process? But ultimately, I want to know not just about specifically the Epstein files, but how she is running this DOJ. Because I don't have any confidence in the way that she is running this DOJ.
Because you're intimating that somebody else is running it, or that she is a puppet, or what?
I believe that she's okay with violating the law. I believe that she's in all ways. When we talk about the firings, I have questions about the firings that she has done to so many of those people that work for the DOJ. Are you firing people in retaliation for them actually doing things that they should be doing?
So, Congresswoman, I have to ask you, I'm sure you perhaps have heard by now that President Trump had a lot to say about your colleague, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but also yourself as well. Listen to what he said.
AOC, look, I think she's very nice, but she's very low IQ. And we really don't need low IQ. Between her and Crockett, we're going to give them both an IQ test to see who comes out best. Now, I took my test. I took a real test at Walter Reed Medical Center, and I aced it. I got every one of all those questions right. Now it's time for them to take a test.
What is your reaction to what he is saying?
It is absolutely ridiculous that I live rent-free in his mind in a time in which the American people are suffering. It's already been reported on as it relates to the inflation. We know that the job numbers were bad. We know that this big, ugly bill is going to directly harm so many people, not just the 17 million that are going to lose their health care, but everyone else whose health care premiums are going to go up because $1 trillion is being taken out of the health care infrastructure. There's a lot of things he could be working on, but for some reason, he is constantly focused on me. And personally, I've never met the man. I have no interest in going to the White House and meeting him.
That might surprise people that you've never met.
I have never met him, but for whatever
Are you
reason,
going to
I
the
live
gym
rent-free.
today, Princessia?
And honestly, the biggest concern that I have is that every time he does something, he has minions that see it as a dog whistle, and then it only increases the attacks
Wait, you honestly
on
think that black
myself
people
as well
don't
as
like
any other
mayonnaise?
colleague. But he absolutely
Have you ever seen a
consistently
black person
buys
eat
into
a
this
sandwich
idea
with
or
mayonnaise?
continues to put
They
it out
love
there
it.
that women of
It's all
color
talk.
somehow are low
They
IQ.
do what you do
Let
with
me
the
be
title.
clear.
They
I
say
have
they don't
a
like
lot more
mayonnaise because
education
they're trying to be
than he
funny.
does. This is just what it is, degree-wise. I have
I'm in
earned
Patty's
my
room right
degrees.
now. I'm
My
politically
daddy
correct.
didn't have to make a
The
phone
Patty
call to
Show.
get me into
The Patty
anything because that
Podcast.
wasn't a possibility, okay? So we can stop playing games as if I am somehow lesser than, while he has somehow hoodwinked enough people to become president of the United
Alright, I'll
States,
leave you guys
mostly
to it.
because they thought he was a good businessman, but that is just because he's a Nepo baby. I promise you, if I was a Nepo baby and maybe a man, then I probably could too be president
Not that.
rather quickly, even though I am unqualified. But he needs to focus on doing what he swore an oath to do, which was to take care of the people in this country. And right now, I have not seen any policy that is going to help the people writ large in this country.
Congresswoman Crockett, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, she sounds like me. Been saying oh so long. I'm not even an elected official. Listen. This man's incompetence is shown each and every day. Every time he opens up his mouth, 90% of the time, people are cringing. People who support him cringe. People who know what he is cringe. This is a man who has risen to power by bullying people, by doing what he was taught. He comes from a long lineage of manipulative tactics. If you go through the whole Trump family, D-R-U-M-F, if you go through their whole family, you will see that when they first came to this country, they did it illegally, right? You will see that his family, his great-great-grandfather, they were draft dodgers, right? You will see that they used eminent domain to build big brothels on the West during the Gold Rush era, right? They had whorehouses, so on and so forth, and they put false paperwork together to obtain the leases in those properties over there. I mean, he's been well taught. It's passed down to him, so it's in his bloodline, and we see it today. And he's become a master of it. So, and this is stuff that's not even it's not even that difficult to do basic research to find this out.
This is David, but I was 29. One of the pieces of advice that I came back with, you could call it the best piece of advice I was ever given, was everything's going to be okay. You are loved.
It's like these people don't know any biblical scripture at all.
What else can you say after
I got these little flashcards here. They'd be tremendously beneficial for these people.
We have a minute left if anyone has a goodbye.
So I didn't share anything or speak up at all. The best thing to say after that, God is love.
thank you for that. Anyone else? You know, you have a sentence. Let's make room for everybody to have kind of the final.
No, I'm very happy that you answered the Hideaway's question. What is love? And now we know what is love. Thank you.
Well, both are concepts that I will say take a long time to ever get to the true meaning.
Thank you for that. Okay, so that. Thank you. Okay, so now anyone else have anything to say? One sentence or left? And we're in our. Well, then we have met. We have. I hope we have gotten to know each other a little bit better.
I just wanted to say hello. You know, I tried to come here a little earlier to hear some more, but I just wanted to say hello to everybody before we do a handoff. I just wanted to find a good way to have a transition.
So are you going to take over this room? Because I'm totally capable of ending the room on time if that's.
No, I know that. No, I feel that there should be a distinction between the rooms. I'm just trying to find a graceful way for you to participate.
This isn't it. I know, this isn't it. If you want to participate in the room, you're welcome to be here, but babysitting at the end is not going to make me feel very good about doing.
Okay, do me a favor. I closed the room yesterday, and I'm happy to close it again by pressing a button.
No. Please don't. I want to demod everyone because of yesterday, but I didn't today. We need to talk offline, all of us, because this is going to become a weird vibe, and I don't want it to be. Ben, I respect you. I can totally respect ending on time. You have been the. You know, I mean, obviously without you, this room wouldn't even exist. So I want to totally support you. I just feel a little bit like I don't want a babysitter. And you're welcome to be here, though. I would.
All right. No, I wasn't thinking of the word babysitting. I was just thinking in terms of me being able to understand how your flow goes, because if your flow goes over, I will understand that, and then I'll be able to do it very consciously. So it has nothing to do with babysitting. But I'll do whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, okay.
All right, I'm going to go to my room, so I'll see all you later. All right, bye-bye.
Bye, thank you. Okay, everyone. Well, that's the end. Yeah, to be continued. Tomorrow, 7:30 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Have some thoughts about, you know, maybe some themes. I think, Denise, your question today was so exactly kind of on point with kind of how to have a conversation that feels like one of substance. And, you know, I think maybe having some just very open conversations about kind of what gets you up every day and getting to know each other maybe is a nice kind of nimble way of kind of leaning into a less kind of staticky, less partisan, kind of unifying way of getting to know each other. So I appreciate that. Well, Denise, you want to close this out?
Yeah, I was uplifted. I know there. Thank you for people who were kind of capturing the highlights of the in the chat. I appreciate that, and I think there's a lot of wisdom on the stage. A lot of people who have done interesting things and who have lived really rich lives, and you know, sometimes we get bogged down talking about everything but each other, and so this gave me a really good peer into the unique gifts that are sitting literally on this stage and most clubhouse stages, I would say. So thanks to everybody who shared. I know some people were super transparent, and I appreciate that, and I hope that somebody said today you put in your pocket and you take it into your actual life, right? Because I'm on this platform to grow, and this room today was really great and just helping me grow a little bit. So thanks for the space, Dr. James.
Yeah, thank you so much, Denise. Thank you, everyone, and see you tomorrow morning.
It's very funny, isn't it?
Okay. Here we go.
Thank you, James, for stealing. Dr. James is stealing Ben's thunder. And ruining his rooms. He's exhausting his rooms. Oh my god, this is so funny. Democrats arguing. Dr. James. Where's Ben? Clubhouse. No one's going to Ben's room. Democrats argue Dr. James is running Clubhouse. Deep state traders. That one's gonna be Gold. Jerry Gold. Most research don't know anything. Phone house is the perfect place to check. Hospitals is the best. Enjoy. Clubhouse drama, deep state traders.
Those are the people from Rio de Janeiro. We're ongoing. We're going to Rio in, what's today? Today's the 16th. We're going in 8 days? Something like that. So I'm going to Rio. Haven't been there for at least a couple of years.
So, and it's the first time I'm going in what is their winter, which should be so much better, because it is just so hot and humid there normally. And look who's here. It's Scotty's in the room. And Dr. Francine and Rick. Some of my favorite.
Good day.
Yes, it is. It's a nice sunny day. What's the weather like in New York? What do I have to look forward to?
Oh boy. It's 87 and sunny. It's not pleasant. Sounds humid, but it's not pleasant. Why did you change your name? Why not? Good morning, how you doing? You know, I don't because I don't care, because people are fucking weird on this app, and you can still call me by my name, but I don't really care. It's also my PlayStation 5 screen name handle, so got it. Makes sense. Got it.